Welcome to Masterclass number 9 about fats and fatty acids. One of the most interesting nutritional findings from hundreds of research studies over the last decade has been the noteworthy effect of eating nuts and seeds, and not other types of fats, on enhancing health span and lifespan. The daily consumption of nuts and seeds is associated with a dramatic reduction in death from all causes, both heart disease and cancer. In women, one serving of nuts daily during adolescence was associated with a 24% lower risk of breast cancer later in life. Walnut consumption has also been linked to suppression of breast cancer. Researchers reported that eating 2 ounces of walnuts daily for as little as 2 weeks significantly repaired gene expression in breast cancer, in other words, green defects that could lead to breast cancer. In a clinical trial, women who had undergone needle biopsies to evaluate breast lumps were asked to eat 2 ounces of walnuts daily until follow-up surgery 2 weeks later after the initial biopsy. And tissue evaluation showed that the expression of 456 damaged genes, these cancer-promoting genes, had been changed for the better in those eating walnuts. Also, daily nut consumption has been associated with a reduced risk of colorectal cancer and pancreatic cancer in large prospective studies. In the largest epidemiologic study in nutritional history, such as the Physicians' Health Study, the Nurses' Health Study, and the Adventist Health Study, all of them showed daily nut and seed consumption consistently demonstrated protection against all causes of death. And what's potentially the most amazing finding in the history of nutritional science is a 39% reduction in cardiovascular death in those individuals eating at least 1 ounce of nuts and seeds a day. This finding has been corroborated in more than a dozen unrelated studies from around the world, and one of the major findings from the Seventh-day Adventist Health Study too, which was the longest lived people were those eating more than 1.5 ounces of nuts and seeds a day. It's not only the beneficial compounds contained in nuts and seeds that extend human lifespan, but also that you need fat with the meal to fully absorb the phytochemicals and antioxidants in the vegetables you're eating. You absorb 20 to 50 times more fat-soluble phytonutrients when you eat nuts and seeds with that meal. I recommend about 1/2 ounce of nuts and seeds with each meal for an overweight person. Of course, somebody like myself who's not overweight could eat more like that, like 1 ounce with each meal. But seeds in particular demonstrate marked protection against common cancers, undoubtedly because of their rich lignin content. Flax, chia, and sesame seeds are rich in phytoestrogens known as lignans, and these compounds have anti-estrogenic effects that have been studied for their potential to protect against breast cancer and prostate cancer. Flax seeds are the food richest in lignans, followed by chia seeds and then sesame seeds. Flax seeds contain about 85 milligrams of lignans per ounce, chia seeds about 32 milligrams of lignans per ounce, and sesame seeds about 11 milligrams of lignans per ounce. Observational studies show a decrease in breast cancer risk with greater consumption of flaxseed, and randomized controlled trials also show such impressive results. Though the effects are more pronounced when taken earlier in life, but even trials on those who already have cancer show dramatic benefits. In one such trial, they followed women with breast cancer for 10 years and recorded a 71% decrease in breast cancer death in women with greater intake of lignin consumption. Lignans also counteract prostate cancer progression. A study on men with prostate cancer provided with 30 days of flaxseed supplementation at 30 grams per day demonstrated reduced cancer proliferation. And another study assigned men with prostate cancer to flaxseed supplementation, a low-fat diet, or both for 30 days until they had a prostatectomy, the prostate removed. And the low-fat diet had no benefit, but both groups containing flax seeds, who got the flaxseed, showed reduced tumor cell proliferation. These are very powerful effects. These lignans have strong anti-inflammatory effects, evidenced by reduction in C-reactive protein levels, and this contributes to their anti-cancer and cardiovascular benefits. Reduction in blood pressure have also been reported in studies using flaxseed, lignin supplementation, or other seeds. But flax seeds are the most powerful because flax seeds have these established blood pressure lowering abilities, which are likely the combined effect of its nutritional composition in general and the lignin content as well. The combined anti-inflammatory, immune-enhancing, and beneficial hormonal effects make flax and chia important foods to consume daily. Walnuts, flax seeds, chia seeds, and hemp seeds are all excellent sources of ALA, alpha-linolenic acid, which is a short-chain omega-3 fatty acid. For optimal health, we should have exposure to both short-chain and long-chain omega-3 fatty acids. Some of these fatty acids from nuts and seeds can be converted to EPA and DHA, the long-chain fats also referred to as fish oil. But the conversion percentage is very low and varies greatly from person to person. One of the foundational principles of a nutritarian diet is to limit or avoid animal products. Many people know that they need omega-3 fatty acids in their diet, so they eat fish as their primary source of these nutrients. But while a small amount of wild-caught fish, less than 6 ounces per week, may be acceptable, it is still not the most favorable source of EPA and DHA. If you eat too much fish, here's the issue. When you eat too much fish or other sources of animal protein, the excess animal protein can raise IGF-1 level into a harmful or unfavorable range that can be cancer-promoting, because IGF-1 is the growth hormone that we talked about that can accelerate aging and promote cancer, if it's too high, of course, in adulthood. So unless a very small amount of fish is consumed, almost all meat and even fish can have undesirable levels of IGF-1. We don't want to push it too high with too much fish eating. But the other problem with fish, it's not just the exposure to too much animal protein, it's also because we dump tons of plastic garbage into our oceans every hour and the waterways, so that fish are caught in coastal waterways are polluted with microplastic particles, which are also cancer promoting, and fish often contains high levels of other pollutants such as methylmercury and PCBs. In other words, they're just too polluted. My opinion here is the benefits of eating fish does not outweigh the risks, especially when you can use a clean algae-based omega-3 supplement and not have to eat the fish for omega-3. Are you enjoying this masterclass so far? Are you surprised to discover that what you put in your mouth can either contribute to or completely turn around life-destroying diseases like heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and autoimmune disease? I want you to live a long, healthy, happy life at your ideal body weight, and watching this free masterclass series is the first step on that path. If you want to go further to the next step, I invite you to take advantage of the special package my team has put together for you. Please click on the link on the page to get all the details. I got lots more to share with you, so let's get back to it. If you do eat fish, I recommend limiting your consumption to 6 ounces per week and sticking with varieties that are lowest in mercury, such as trout, flounder, oysters, sardines, shrimp, pollock, and wild salmon. No big fish, nor big predatory fish. Conversion of ALA from walnuts, flax seeds, and chia seeds varies between individuals, but is overall inefficient. And as studies show, it's most often insufficient to promote optimal DHA levels. A study that measured the blood DHA and EPA levels in a vegan population found that 64% were insufficient, and some, like 25%, were really severely deficient. Those insufficiencies and deficiencies were not related to ALA intake, which was far above recommended intake, suggesting that genetic or other inherent differences in conversion enzyme activity determines DHA and EPA conversion from ALA more than ALA intake does. For example, in this study, a moderate dose of algae-derived EPA and DHA was given of about 250 milligrams a day, was able to normalize the blood levels when rechecked 4 months later. This research confirms that high ALA intake in many cases is not enough to assure DHA and EPA adequacy, and suggests that omega-3 supplementation is a useful adjunct to a healthful diet. Long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, DHA and EPA, contribute to many aspects of brain health, but most modern diets are low in DHA and EPA, and research has confirmed that vegans tend to have a low omega-3 index. DHA is concentrated in the membranes of brain cells, and DHA provides the structure to the membrane and is involved in signaling connectivity between cells and neurotransmitter production, among other important actions. So EPA and DHA have some common functions and some distinctive ones. DHA is most often associated with brain development, learning, and cognition, and EPA with mood and behavior, and of course, it has anti-inflammatory effects. Now, omega-3 supplementation trials in children have reported improvements in measures of school performance, such as reading, spelling, and learning ability and behavior. And the research on these omega-3 fats has significant implications, since early academic success helps to build confidence and sets the stage for future college and career performance. Another study on teens aged 13 to 15 found that higher blood omega-3 levels correlated with better scores on cognitive tests, and insufficient DHA levels have been implicated in a number of childhood cognitive and developmental disorders such as ADHD, dyslexia, and autism spectrum disorders. So DHA and EPA supplementation, which shows improvement in depression and learning ability in adulthood, and at that stage of life when you're an adult, omega-3 adequacy maintains optimal brain function, prevents depression, and lays the groundwork for a healthy brain later in life when you get older. For women, it's important to note that depletion of DHA stores during pregnancy, driving that DHA towards the baby's brain needs, is thought to be responsible for many cases of postpartum depression. Pregnancy and nursing is an important time to maximize or to maintain adequate DHA, not only for the baby's brain development, for the mother's benefit as well. Long-chain omega-3 fatty acids can affect the metabolism of mood-related neurotransmitters such as serotonin and dopamine. In addition, the anti-inflammatory effects of DHA and EPA are thought to contribute to reducing depression symptoms. So, omega-3 supplements have a host of different benefits and have been extensively studied as a treatment for depression. The EPA component is primarily responsible for the antidepressant effects of omega-3 supplements, according to a multiple meta-analysis of trials investigating omega-3 supplementation for depressed patients. And perhaps the most critical area of concern here is that maintaining adequate levels of EPA and DHA also helps preserve memory and other cognitive functions in older people. As you get older, these omega-3 fatty acids are necessary to prevent Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease, the two most common neurodegenerative diseases. Low omega-3 intake and low levels of DHA in the blood are associated with age-related cognitive decline and Alzheimer's disease in multiple studies. Other studies have investigated brain volume and structural changes, finding that higher blood omega-3 levels are associated with larger brain volume and reduced dementia-related changes in older people, meaning that sufficient DHA and EPA helps prevent brain shrinkage with aging. So critical if we want to be healthy and living a longer life. The longer we live, the more maintaining a normal brain size is important. Beginning supplementation, once memory problems have become apparent, may have only a limited ability to bring back full memory compared to maintaining adequate levels throughout life. For preventing cognitive decline in older adults, the supplementation trials have shown that healthy older people, or those with mild cognitive impairment or mild memory complaints, benefit from omega-3 supplementation, whereas those with established Alzheimer's disease and advanced memory loss likely do not show benefit. This research implies that maintaining sufficient omega-3 levels with DHA and EPA throughout life is an effective preventative measure. It's known that DHA levels are also low in the brains of Parkinson patients. Similarly, in my clinical experience, because I've seen a number of elderly, healthy eating male vegans who developed Parkinson's disease and were severely deficient in DHA with an incredibly low DHA and EPA index. And this deficiency has been shown to sensitize the brain to the chemicals that play a role in Parkinson's disease shown in primate studies. Several studies have also documented that EPA deficiency, DHA and EPA deficiency, is associated with premature death from all causes. So no matter what your age, maintaining adequate omega-3 stores is crucial now and for the later life health and function of your brain. The nutritarian diet provides many nutrients that benefit brain health, but to assume that our DHA EPA intake is optimized, we should maintain an omega-3 index greater than 5 because lower levels are increasingly associated with cognitive impairment and brain shrinkage. It also just makes good sense to occasionally test your blood for omega-3 acid levels, getting an omega-3 index or omega check to assure you're sufficient. So the action step here is make sure you're taking a high quality DHA, EPA. I'm still suggesting once in a while, once every 3 to 5 years, check your omega-3 index or omega check blood level to make sure it's above 5 so you can adjust accordingly if you need more. Don't just assume that this level is perfect. Make sure it's perfect because we want to make sure your brain is perfect when you live to be 100 years old. All right, that concludes this Module 9. I hope you're taking great care of your health now and great care of you making the right decisions now to make that's going to care for you 10, 20, and even 30 years from now. Thanks for joining me.